This road that we're having to walk, none of us wanted to walk down. This isn't anything that we had planned for our lives. When we were younger and you pictured your life and you thought about getting married and having kids and buying a house, this was not in our plans. And looking back at my own grief journey, there are some lessons that I've learned that I think are important to know and I believe will be helpful for you in your own grief journey. Things that I've learned along the way that I want to pass down to you wherever you're at in your grief journey. If you're just starting, if you're years in, these lessons that I've learned have helped me, and I pray that they will help you as well as you walk this road that none of us want to be on. I pray this episode blesses you. Welcome to Unlocking Joy After Grief. My name's Courtney, wife, mama of 6 kiddos, one in heaven waiting for us, and that's why I'm here. In 2017, we lost our 4-year-old son, Sam, and it's my joy to share with you everything this journey has taught me. So if you're ready for biblical encouragement, first-hand lessons, and support from a fellow grieving mama, then let's lace up our shoes and begin walking this road together. As I was preparing for this episode, I was thinking back on the past 8 years and trying to pull some lessons that I've learned just by walking through this journey that I feel like might be helpful for y'all. And there's one thing that was a constant thread through everything, and that it's only possible through Him. There's no way we could do it on our own. There's no way that I could do any of this, have learned any of these lessons on my own strength. There's no way. I couldn't even, after we lost Sam, I couldn't even come up with words. There was nothing going on. I couldn't comprehend anything I read. Words would not come out. I couldn't make decisions. There was nothing left. Nothing left of me. So there is no way that I have learned these lessons, made it through any part of my grief journey on my own. It was only through Him. I knew that it could only be through Him. I knew that I couldn't do it on my own strength. I had to have Him. He's the only way that you can get through this. And the great news about that is He is faithful. And He has promised that He will never leave us or forsake us. And that actually brings me into my first lesson that I have learned in my grief journey. And it's that the Bible verse that says He is close to the brokenhearted is true. I have felt this in my grief journey over and over and over again. Before I lost Sam, I had gone through hard things, and I actually believe that all those hard things that I went through before I lost Sam were preparing me to know who to turn to when we lost Sam, because in comparison to losing Sam, those were so small, just little bitty tiny problems. Now at the time, they didn't feel like little bitty tiny problems. They were really big problems at that point in my life. But, looking back, I'm like, I went through all those hard things that were hard at the time, and it was preparing me. Every trial I went through, every problem I had, it was training me I turned to Him. I looked to Him. He's where my strength comes from, because He knew that one day I was going to face the biggest thing that I will ever have to face in this life, and He needed me to look to Him. He needed me to know where my strength came from. He needed me to be able to say, I know what to do because I've done this before. It was not at this level of pain, but He has seen me through all these little problems that I've had up until this point. And so I know He will be with me now. And all those little things that I went through, He was with me. I felt Him there. But it wasn't until I lost Sam that I felt this verse the truth of this verse permeated every part of me. I have a podcast episode, one of my favorite ones I've ever recorded. It's talking about how near God is to you in your grief. And I'll leave the link to that in the description of this episode. If you want to dive a little bit deeper into all the ways that you can know that God is with you in your grief journey, it's an amazing episode. So I encourage you to go listen to that one. But I'm going to steal a little bit from that episode for this point. I was listening to a message, and there was a pastor that was talking about this verse. And he said, God is omnipresent. That means He is everywhere. It actually says nothing can separate us from the love of God. Death, life, heaven, hell. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. Nothing can separate us from Him. So if He's omnipresent, if He is everywhere, if nothing can separate us, how can He be closer to those who are brokenhearted? How can He be closer if He's already everywhere? Is it because that maybe He's saving a little bit of Himself just for those who are brokenhearted? Those people who are going through what we have been through, a grief that's unimaginable, a pain that's unimaginable, and we're having to live through it. He reserves a part of Himself that way He can pull all of us who are grieving and broken and hurting a little bit closer to Him than we were before. And I have felt that. I always say the depth of grief that I felt, God matched with the same depth of love. And so there's parts of God's heart that I believe I have experienced and seen that I never would have seen or experienced if I hadn't lost Sam. And that's this verse. I believe that's this verse coming to life, is that those parts of God's heart that He has reserved for the broken and the grieving, you don't see if you're not broken or grieving. There's a part of His heart that is just for these moments that we walk through such deep grief and pain. And I love the way He showed me throughout my journey that He was with me, that Sam was with me. I call them kisses from heaven. Little signs that Jesus is near and Sam is near as well. And I list some of those out in that episode. So again, I won't go into all that. You can go listen to that one when you're done with this one. So the second lesson that I've learned in my grief journey is that distractions are okay. Normally, distractions are not okay. We don't want to be distracted. We want to be focused and meet our goals and do all this. But the grief of losing a child is not normal. It's not the things that normally apply to situations do not apply in our grief journey. And one of those is distractions, especially if you're early in your grief journey. I believe the goal is to make it to the end of the day. Especially if you're having a hard day, a hard grief day. Like, we need to lower our goals on those days to I'm just going to make it through today. Like, that's it. That's the only thing that I am going to try to do is make it through the end of the day. And I believe distracting your mind can help in those really hard days to get through, whether it's watching a show on TV, watching some YouTube shorts or Instagram reels on your phone, or playing a game on your iPad, getting outside and walking, going out to eat, like leaving your house. All of those things that normally would not be a good thing. Normally we would not say, go get on your phone and scroll or watch mindless television. That's not normally a good piece of advice to give. But in our grief journey, when we are having hard days where our mind is going places we don't want it to go, y'all know what I'm talking about, replaying and reliving that day, or thinking of all the things we're missing, or, all the things that our mind can go to when we're having to deal with this grief, it can be crippling. And so giving your mind something else to think about is so key in making it through. Like, we have to distract our minds, get our minds off of it so we can make it through the end of the day. Now, am I saying to never face your feelings, to never try and heal? No, I'm not saying that, because it's important that we face our feelings, that we face what we're feeling, we look at it, we let ourselves feel what we feel, what we need to feel. We allow God to bring healing to our hearts. We keep taking those steps forward and keep going. We don't want to like camp out in our grief or camp out on the couch and never get up and never do anything. So that's not what I'm saying. But there are those moments where you just can't. I just can't right now. All I'm thinking about is him. All I'm thinking about is her. All I'm thinking about is the day I lost them. All I'm thinking about is all the things that I can't have. And, it can be a spiral. And so for me personally, and I don't do it anymore as much, hardly ever now. So that's an encouragement to you. But in the early days, I did it so often. I would have a game on my iPad I played, or I would pack up my boys and we'd go to McDonald's and we would do homeschool at McDonald's because I could not sit in my house anymore. I had to get up. We would go sit at Sam's grave. They would play. I would bring a book. I would read, just getting out of the house and distracting my brain to help me be able to make it through. Okay, third lesson I learned is my priorities after I lost Sam got a major overhaul. Things that I thought were important after I lost Sam, I realized, that's not anywhere on my list anymore. It's amazing how going through something like this can change what you view as important. My family was always important to me, but it took on another level. It took on another meaning in my heart after we lost Sam, because of course you always hear you never promise tomorrow, you never know what might happen, but until you actually go through that, until you actually lose someone earlier than they should have gone, it's at that point you realize, oh, we're not promised tomorrow. Like, I thought I would have years and years and years with Sam. He was 4. I thought I would have until I went to heaven. So like 70 more years, 60 or 70 more years with him. And I didn't. And so that made me take a big look at my priorities and be like, you know what? That's not important anymore. What I was doing right there, that's not important. And spending time with my family, making memories, going on vacations, doing those kinds of things bumped way up on my priority. Like, number one, like after my relationship with God and, spending time with him. Number 2, 100% spending time with my family. Because when you lose someone, you realize those memories that you have are so precious. And my family, my husband, my kids that are still here with me, those memories I have, I want to make memories with them. Now, of course, you have to work and you have to, I still serve at my church, and it's important to have your own life outside of your family. But the main thing that drives my decisions when I'm asked to do something or, an opportunity comes up is, okay, I need to gauge this opportunity with my priorities, which is my family. And sometimes I take it, even though it takes time away from my family, because I realize there's another priority that I have in my life that this meets, because it's not just spending time with my family. I have other priorities too. But there are some things that come up like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not one of my priorities that I have listed. It's not one of those. And so that means it's going to take time away from one of my priorities. So it's a no. And as my son says, he is in school to be a therapist, actually. No is a complete sentence. So that's all you have to say. You don't have to explain yourself, which as a people pleaser is hard for me. But no is a complete sentence. You can just say no and know that you have your priorities, and that opportunity or that whatever it is not in line with them. And it's okay to say no. It's okay. Okay, so the last lesson I've learned in my grief journey that I hope can be an encouragement to you is that I made it 8 years. There were many times when I was early in my grief journey that I did not think there was another side to this. I didn't think that I would feel anything but pain and grief and sorrow. That was who I was. That was my new identity, was the grief and the pain. That was all I was going to feel. And that's really what it felt like. And so if that's you right now, if you're early in your grief journey and all you're feeling is pain, all you're feeling is grief, and you're like, I do not see another side to this, I want this lesson to be an encouragement to you. I've made it. Now, do I mean that I have reached full healing and I will never feel any grief again? No, that's not what I mean. But I'm on the other side. And I'm living in the other side of my grief now, to where I have been able to continue living. I am a different person now. I'm not the same person as I was before I lost Sam. So it's a different life now, but it's not a bad life. It's just different. I have an episode I just recorded about why things feel different, and I'll link that in the description of this episode if you're interested. But I just want to look back to you. I'm 8 years into my grief journey, and I want to look back to you wherever you're at, a month in, 6 months in, a year in, 2 years in, wherever you're at. And I first want you to know that there is another side. I remember there was someone who was a little bit further along than me in her own grief journey after losing her child. And it was an encouragement to me as a newly grieving mom to know that there was another side, because it didn't feel like there was. So that's the first thing I want to tell you, is that there is another side. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know because I was the same way, but there is. And the key in getting there is to keep doing what you're doing, one step at a time with Jesus. That is the key. Like I started out this episode saying, it is only through him that I have been able to make it 8 years and be okay. You know, I really do have moments of true joy, and they feel different, of course, but I have been able to feel joy and laugh, and it's not as much as it was before, but I have been able to feel it. And that is that's nothing that I've done. Goodness knows that if it were left up to me, I'd be a puddle on the floor and wouldn't be able to keep living. There's no way that we can do it without Jesus. But with him, with his help, with his strength, he's carried me. He's healed my heart piece by piece. He's helped me every time I've struggled, every bump in my grief journey road. He has helped me get through it. And I still am learning. That episode where I recorded about why things feel different, that was a new lesson I learned 8 years in. So there's still going to be things that, and on. When I'm 20 years in, when I'm 30 years in, if we're still here on this earth, then I'm sure there'll still be lessons that I learn in my grief journey. We'll never have arrived to where we never need Jesus anymore. Our heart is completely healed. Not with this grief. This is a different grief. Our hearts will never be completely whole until we see our child again in heaven. But Jesus can heal your heart enough to where you can feel joy, feel laughter, feel love, feel purpose again. It will all be different and feel different and look different, but you can feel it again. So I just want to encourage you to keep going, keep letting Jesus bring healing to your heart piece by piece. It's a long process because our hearts are shattered, but he can do it. He's faithful. He won't leave you. He's not scared of the time it's going to take to heal your heart. Let him carry you when you feel like you can't take another step. He will pick you up so you can keep going. Just go back and listen to some of my past podcast episodes if you need encouragement and strength through a certain part of your grief journey. But I just wanted this last point in here just to give you hope that there is another side. There will be a moment where you will feel something besides the grief and the pain, but it's only found through Him. That's the only way. There's not a shortcut. There's not a button you can push. Oh, I wish there was. I wish there was something I could tell you that would take all the pain away, all the grief away with just the push of a button. Everything would go back to the way it was before. I wish I could. But there's not. There's not an easy way out. But you can make it. I know you can because I know where your strength comes from. It's the same source as my strength. It's the same source. The same God who was there for me every single time is the same God who is there for you every time you need Him. And so I can confidently say that if you continue walking with Jesus, you will see the other side too. It will look and feel different, but you'll make it to that other side of that grief, to the other side of the pain. And so I hope this episode was an encouragement to your heart to keep going. Keep learning the lessons that you need to learn on your grief journey that will help you make it through, and keep living until we can see our child again in heaven, where it will be forever and ever and ever. I'll see you next time. Love you, friend. Hi, Mama. I hope this episode blessed you. If so, would you mind sharing it with a fellow grieving mama who may need some encouragement on her grief journey? Also, please take 30 seconds and leave a rating and a written review wherever you listen to this episode. Reading your reviews brings so much joy to my heart, and I love connecting with you in that way. All right, I'll see you here next Thursday for another episode. Love you, friend.